Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
And welcome in to another week here on Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Charles Bishop here with, of course, Big Mike Washington, Wilton Jackson. What's going on, fellas?
What's going on, Charles?
What's the deal? What's going on?
Well, I think I wiped whatever stains of tears that I had on my cheeks last night watching the game. So we'll get into that. We'll get into that. As no more Lakers, no more Golden State Warriors.
You got to embrace the new talent, the youth that's coming into the league.
That's what my students told me today. In fact, one of them quoted something from the Wild, like, when I was with LeBron, but now it's a new age. I'm with Ant-Man. And I was like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
I feel
it's coming, but it's come through every generation, right? Of course, you had the Bird, the Magic Johnson, the Michael Jordan, the Kobe. I mean, it happens every time.
It has. We'll get into it. We'll knock some of that down. Of course, we start things out. We're going to talk a little bit about HBCU news, notes. But we're going to take a look at last week. We had the NFL draft, and Kyle Mosley. He's going to stop in and talk to us. Wrote a great article on with regards to the lack of HBCU players that were drafted. So we're going to take a look at that and try to dig into that a little bit in terms of what exactly is going on. Where's the disconnect? Some interesting comments that we've seen across social media over the past few days. But down year overall for FCS players being drafted overall. But we, especially since we follow a lot of HBCU sports, definitely want to take a look at whether there's a disconnect of some sort going on there. We're also going to take a look at Tamika Reed, the legacy, the huge shoes that will have to be filled at Jackson State in regards to Tamika Reed. Of course, she took the job at Charlotte, so she's moved on to Charlotte. But I mean, big news with regards to Tamika Reed. So we're going to take a look at, of course, what she's done at Jackson State. And then, of course, we're going to dive into a little bit of what's going on within the sports genre, the NBA playoffs. We'll get into a lot of stuff. We'll talk about SWAC baseball. A lot of stuff going on. But, I'm going to start things off a little different tonight. Point of privilege. Coach Johnny Hernandez reached out to me last week, and it's always a huge thing when a major league player gets the call up. They gave me a text last Friday, and this is part of our news and notes today. Former HBCU pitcher made his major league debut on the mound, and that was Anthony Maldonado. I wanted to send a huge shout out to the Bethune-Cookman program. Mm-hmm. Anthony Maldonado, as he made his major league debut with the Miami Marlins on last Friday night, getting the nod, and he had a huge night. He ended the night 3 scoreless innings against the Washington Nationals, only allowed 3 hits, no walks, and a pair of strikeouts. Threw 36 pitches, 23 going for strikes. So I think that's a huge thing, especially when we take a look at guys going from HBCU ball to the majors. That was huge. And I tell you what, I really appreciated Coach Hernandez reaching out to me in regards to his guy getting the call. So, we take a look at that. And then other news and notes, we take a look around the SWAC this past week. Of course, we got – let me take another dive here. Dive here.
On the Maldonado, do you have, kind of a trail developing of potential pitchers going from maybe Bethune, Alabama State, and there's a few HBCUs that have garnered good pitching over the years. Do you foresee a trail being developed where some of these pitchers may, act? But these teams prided themselves on having good pitching, Bethune being one of them, and now you see Maldonado up in the leagues. Jackson State again was a power hitting team. But do you see a trail, possibly blossoming with this?
I can't hear anything he's saying.
Can't hear you. So anyway, can you hear me, Milton?
Yeah, I can. I can. Yeah.
So like I was saying, you looked at what Maldonado did. Successful performance, 3 innings.
Right.
He didn't give up. He didn't give up much. But you look at it. Is this really opening the door for some of these pitchers? It's kind of a blossoming question I have in my mind.
Right.
Can we look forward to more of this in the future?
I think it's certainly worth looking into. When you have programs that are consistently being consistent at this particular level each year, and you talk about the job that Bethune-Cookman's program is pretty much getting out or what have you. Good players, I'm always under the mindset of this situation of when you're a good player, no matter where you go, if you're good at what you do, they're gonna find you. And so, you're talking about as a coach, the type of players that you're bringing into your program. And so you're only hoping that once they come to your program, obviously they're going to, fulfill the duties that they need you to do in their program, but also knowing that if they have these pro aspirations to play beyond college baseball, and in the case of the young man playing for the Marlins, like you're getting a quality player that can actually be of benefit to a particular MLB franchise. And so in looking at that, this could very well be the start.
Yeah, and that would be awesome to say. I mean, it does open up ties. Imagine you're youngsters and you see HBCU players walking on the mound. I think that would be an awesome sight.
Oh, absolutely.
So I know CB. I know he's had some difficulties. One of the news items he wanted to talk about was Coach Tamika Reed, and her debut. With Charlotte, unfortunately, but the legacy's left. I mean, if you look at the last article she just had, I think it was credit to HBCU Game Day, HBCU Sports.
Yeah.
And, she said, she didn't realize the legacy she had until she stepped in. I'm like, this is an icon. How can you just only now recognize that? So, I don't want to get into it, but I mean, such a tremendous, how do you replace someone of that magnitude at Jackson State?
Mike, I don't even know if you can actually replace somebody like her. I think the more so of what you can do is appreciate the time and her service and what she did for that program, because you're talking about a Jackson State program before Tamika Reed came in that was pretty much somewhat down in terms of, I don't want to necessarily say down in the dumps, but it definitely wasn't the Jackson State women's basketball program that most of us had probably seen, maybe more so in the late 80s, early 90s, even early 2000s. So it was definitely a program that needed to be rejuvenated. And so if you remember correctly, when she came in that first season, she didn't start off the best. Like, there were a lot of doubts where people were thinking like, well, was she the correct hire for this program? Was this was this the opportunity? Was she ready for this opportunity? And then this is the same team from that same season that made it to the SWAC championship game and lost to Southern in her first season. And she only built from that each single time. So whether it was winning multiple regular season titles, winning conference SWAC titles, and like I said, getting to the NCAA tournament, I don't know if you can necessarily duplicate that. You can find another coach, and obviously the coach you would want to bring in, you would want to have similar success, but I don't think there will be another Tamika Reed for Jackson State. Tamika Reed, again, for Jackson State, you could arguably say that she's one of one there.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with you. There's no way you can replace it. You can try to equate her success,
right?
But you never replace her. So then that didn't beg the question: does she tweak her methodology as she goes to Charlotte? Does she tweak what she did? What made her successful at Jackson State? You made the point. remembers, history lesson. I'm good on history. Remember how she started. I don't have the facts, but it wasn't that good. Now, does she tweak what she's doing at Charlotte? Arguably maybe a bigger stage, maybe not. Some would argue that's neither here nor there, but does she tweak her approach or what she's doing?
I like what you said. I think the better word for me, instead of using tweak, I like to use the word evolve. And I think that with each level that you go as a coach, even at Jackson State, I've sat down and talked with Tamika Reed on several occasions, and she talked about being able to certain coaches being able to kind of start to understand how she was going about coaching her players and her team. And each season, especially after like that third or fourth season, she kind of had to evolve a little bit. And so now moving to another conference, obviously it's going to be a more competitive conference, and it's not necessarily like the ACC or the SEC or, Pac-12, Big Ten or what have you. It's still a step up. And not only are you, competing in competing with the teams in your conference, but you're also competing with other schools around that area. You're talking about now being in Charlotte, North Carolina. You got Duke. That's not far away. You got NC State. That was a team that had a very deep NCAA tournament run. You have Clemson in South Carolina. You got the national defending champions, obviously South Carolina Gamecocks in Columbia, South Carolina. So the recruiting, I think a big piece is going to be, the type of players that she's able to bring in terms of recruiting, and then what methods will she use in terms of understanding the other coaches within this particular conference and how they play. Because what some people may fail to realize is that on a lot of her Jackson State teams, in addition to the players she got from the portal, they were heavily recruited from Mississippi. Like, she had a lot of dandy dozen players over the years that started to build up at Jackson State. Players that may have went to Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and other places in previous years, they stayed home to play at Jackson State, or they stayed within the state to play at Jackson State. So her being at Charlotte now, it's a wider span of players that she can get, but it's also going to be a lot more competitive too.
So then that begs the question: more impact up front on the court or recruiting? Because it takes a while to establish your recruiting prowess. You said it yourself, in that region. So more impact first on the court initially, or in that region. So more impact first on the court initially, or in recruiting.
I think she has to find a way to have a better recruiting process.
Okay. All right, gotcha. I see captain of the ship, CB is back. CB, you with us?
I think he is.
Nope.
But we have to
all this Coach Reed talking Jackson State got him speechless. So, so let's look down the landscape. Charlotte, 2-3 years from now. And I know this is a pipe dream. I know this is whatever. But when she took on at Jackson State, people were saying they won't rise to the level that they are. Knowing Tamika Reed, knowing who she was, how strong she is, do you see her on a trajectory of that level of success or some version of it at Charlotte, given the recruitive environment and jungle she is now working in?
I do. I think a lot of it is, and I say yes for a couple of reasons. For one, I like the person, number one, that Tamika Reed is. That's number one. But then also number two, she's a good coach. She's one coach that not only can coach, but she's also good at making adjustments. And sometimes there are a lot of great coaches in this way, especially on the women's side. But specifically in the way that Tamika makes adjustments, especially like in game or after halftime, she's one of one in terms of making adjustments. And I will say this too, in terms of being able to find a way to win. Because here's the thing: she made a jump from basically the junior college level and coming to the SWAC. And so being able to look at that and see how some people felt like she wasn't prepared, she took advantage of the opportunity. Were there times, I'm sure, that she maybe doubted herself in a way? Maybe, but I highly doubt it, because you have to know Tamika Reed. Like, she's not one to really be down on herself. She's going to find a way to come up with a solution to win and continuously win. And I think this situation is no different. I feel like the level of success that she had and the obstacles that she dealt with at Jackson State only prepare her for this moment even more. And that's why I think the experiences that she had there are going to prepare her to continue to do well at Charlotte. Do I think that she wins a championship in her first year? I wouldn't say that, but at the same time, I would say that she's going to build a good foundation and then maybe by the end of year one or going into year two, that will be more so of a stronger, solidified program at Charlotte.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you know, I can't do nothing but agree with you. I know she's prowess on. I mean, are known for recruiting a certain athlete.
Yep.
In-game adjustments, but you know, she has a fast tempo and a slow tempo game.
Yep.
I don't know if people pay attention to that. There's a couple of games when, depending on the opponent, she can speed up the pace of the game or pick it down, or pick it up. And I was really in that. That's coaching. I mean, that's X's and O's, pure excellence. I mean, that's an acumen for seeing what's going on in the game. And I think, being able to get the right athletes, but knowing what's going on in the game, I think people don't give her a lot of credit, or never gave her a lot of credit for at first. I think, that came with the success, but at first knowing, all right, we need to switch up. We need to match up. That's sometimes art and sometimes more science.
Yeah.
And I think not every coach has that ability. So, I'll leave it. We can talk. I can talk till I'm blue in the face and on Coach Reed. And I know that Kyle Mosley wants to join in. So we'll see if we can get him in and join in. So looks like we're headed to our first break, because I'm talking too much and we're talking too much Jackson State anyway. So with that being said, Brian, we're going to take to our first break and we'll come back. Hopefully we'll have CB and we'll have Cal Mosley able to join us. So thank you very much, and we'll see you in a few, and in about 2 and 2.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em! It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm.
Hello, cream bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
All right. Hello, folks. We are back in the lab. We are joined by everyone. We have Brother CB Bishop, who's still having a few technical difficulties. It's that little mouse in the back of the computer messing with the hamster who ain't running right. But we have been joined by none other than Mr. Cowty Mosley.
What's going on, guys?
What's going on? How you doing, sir?
Good.
We going good or going bad?
Doing well. No, we're doing good. We're doing real good.
Well, good. I'm glad you were able to join us. I know that we brought you on to talk a little bit about your article, but I know that you wanted to comment on Coach Tamika Reed, and you heard myself and Milton. We can't talk enough about the legacy she left at Jackson State, but I know you wanted to share some of your thoughts, so I'll turn it over to you, and I know share us your thoughts. What your takeaways are from it.
Yeah, well, basically, I have to echo what you guys were saying, how great she was at Jackson State. I think she's prepared for this next opportunity going ahead, and I know personally she wanted to have this challenge to get a step up to the next level. I think also, Wilton, and I think you kind of touched on this, is how she recruits and how she develops. She's going to have a challenge with the plethora of resources and different teams that are in that area. Mm-hmm. But everybody has to learn and everybody has to navigate those same waters, right? And I think with Mike Hill as athletic director, who has been very good at raising tens of millions of dollars for his athletic department for the 49ers, I think he's going to do a great job helping to be able to propel the women's basketball program as well. Now, they didn't have a slouch for a coach who went on to Marquette. So that program was left in good hands. Right. And I just think when you talk about Tamika Reed, she's going to put her own stamp on the program. She's got her own thoughts about how to be able to go ahead and move it forward, as well as if you listen to her press conference, it's all about the NIL. It's all about the money. And she stated that quite clearly to the alumni as well as everybody else. We need money to come in to get the top talented players.
So let me ask you this. I'll ask you the same question I asked Wilton. Look through your crystal ball, and what do you see her trajectory like, given look at the competitive recruiting jungle she's now operating in. Look at the stage she's on. No offense, but look at the stage she's on now. Look at the competition in and around her. Look at her qualities. All of that in this big gumbo mixture. What do you see her trajectory looking like year 1, 2, 3 out?
Oh, it's going to go up. It's going to go up. Mike, of course, you got to get acclimated to the whole system. You have to get acclimated to what's happening there. Like you said, the conferences, each coach in those conferences and surrounding areas are going to have a different recruiting strategy. So you're going to have to develop yourself. You're going to have to develop how you want that team to look. She has an idea of what she wants. She has those assistant coaches that were very vital to building her program coming along with her. So that helps her lay out foundation where she's going to only get better. And I think we may be surprised by the end of the season how well the 49ers do improve and get to possibly the NCAA tournament.
Okay. Interesting. Little faster trajectory, but that's good. I think you were waiting and I was shining on her ability. To me, that's not spoken to enough. And that's her ability to make in-game decisions. I don't think, at least at first, she's given enough credit as in-game decision, personnel matchups, X's and O's. Yes, she does. She's a hell of a recruiter. Yes, she has a fast break offense, but she does also have a slow offense and knows when to take the foot, put a foot off the pedal, put the right personnel. So I think you'll see more of that in this stage from my perspective, given the matchups that Charlotte will have in this upcoming season. So.
Yeah, well, we also know this, and we saw this against UConn when there were times where they needed to slow the pace down. Sometimes the players rushed it. Mm-hmm. When they were jacking up threes, they could have run some sets. They didn't do that. You got to be a little bit more disciplined as you get up to this level. And I think she's going to find those type of disciplined players that's going to help them to build the program. So you got to give her some time. Think about it. I think the last coach, Kara, was there for 13 seasons. So this is not just going to be come in one and done. If she doesn't show any improvement with year 2 or 3, I don't see Mike Hill and that athletic department getting rid of Tamika Reed. I think they're going to give her time to be able to grow, evolve, and mature into the position as well.
No, I certainly agree with that. So kind of turning the clock a little bit. So we've just left this NFL draft, in Detroit, D-Town, Motown, another 4 or 5 rounds. We had how many HBCU players that were taken in the draft? Can you tell me how many?
0.
Absolutely. You can't even count them on one hand because there's no finger to raise up. So I know, Cal, you have an article, and I want to make sure we give that justice. But, here we are, another one, and now we're seeing signings of HBCU players after the draft to players, and it's really kind of a glorified tryout. So, talk us through your article, what motivated and what some of your thoughts are, with this, another year of this process.
Yeah. And man, I think everybody's echoing the same thing, right? Think about this, Mike. We're talking about last year, one player, Isaiah Bolden, going to New England. The year before that, we had four players, right? And you don't have Deion Sanders in the SWAC or HBCU any longer, right? So you just have him right now looking over the fence and seeing what's happening. And what's happening, in my opinion, is where's the leadership? I see the fans being incensed, right? But do we see the commissioners? Do we see the athletic directors? Do we see the coaches? Who's speaking out for these guys who put themselves on the line every Saturday for our enjoyment and entertainment in the falls, right? You ask these guys to dig deep, to grind, and be able to win for our programs. So are we doing them justice by not saying anything? I haven't heard anything from these guys. Last year, I think Willie Simmons and I think Trey Oliver did take to the internet and say, hey, we need more representation or something to that nature, right? But this year, I've heard, you hear that? Chirps, echoes. Yep. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I have not heard that. And I think right now, the HBCU football landscape needs to have somebody to go in, stand up, and be able to speak on what has happened. And hey, look, there's great guys who, like you say, have been signed. And I hope those guys do very well. You saw Marcus Rowley got a 3-year deal with the Philadelphia Eagles for $2.8 million, something to that nature. That's great. But there are so many other talented young men who had the opportunity. Now, in all fairness, maybe there wasn't an abundance of talent like we thought there was, right? I spoke to Jim Nagy about what was happening, and he's the executive director of the Senior Bowl. And before the draft, Jim said he only had Willie Drew as the only person that had a draftable grade. Can you believe that? So It's what's happening there when you have Doug Williams and James Shaq Harris and all those guys are really committed to showcasing and highlighting some of the talent that comes from HBCUs. And you have the scouts coming in for the HBCU combine, and you have all this mixture. And I'm going to use the term you just used, Mike, a few seconds ago, gumbo of everything happening. You would think that we would have at least 4 or 5 guys coming out of the draft. And that's what Doug told me. He anticipated around 4 or 5 guys that could have been late rounders, at least 6th or 7th round, but that wasn't the case. And I'm not trying to besmirch the name of small colleges from Division II or Division III, but I think the talent in HBCUs were rival or could have been on par with some of the guys that were selected in the draft from those divisions. And we had a guy that was selected who was a rugby player, right?
Absolutely.
And we had another guy who played only 2 years and 6 games.
That's it.
Yeah. Well,
that's the argument I have. And Charles, I defer to you.
No, and I'm curious about this. Great conversation, and pardon me, technical difficulties over this way, but back in now. But and I guess the question, and I asked you this, offline this morning. As fans of HBCU sports, as fans of HBCU football, have we just overvalued the talent? I mean, I know I'm not a talent evaluator or whatever the case, but I know good football when I see good football. I know good football players when I see them, but to be in that position in terms of an evaluation of a talent. And when I, have a hue and cry about something, I'm like, wait a second. He has the measurables. What is it that he did not do? Things of that nature. So I guess I asked the question as a fan. Is what I'm watching, is it true and real? And have I overvalued what it is that I'm watching? I'm curious for y'all's reactions to that.
Yeah. So, I was kind of listening, to Kyle and kind of searching my thoughts, because I am one of those. Yes, I am one of those who sits and watches the drafts for a number of reasons. I look to see who's drafted, where they from. And by the time you get to the 4th round, you're keeping up, you're looking on your phone, and you see players from, North Dakota State. You see players from, Appalachian State. You see players from the equivalency, in terms of size and competitiveness of HBCUs. Yet you don't see, those faces. You don't see the leading offensive gainer from the SWAC or the MEAC, even in consideration, even in thought. That's my concern. And I think that the leadership has been silent. I think it's a culture that has been propagated by, higher powers for whatever reason, that HBCUs, it's not a talent disparity by any means, any stretch. Mm-hmm. There are right now, at last count, 21 players in NFL from HBCUs. Of those, I think 3, and my numbers could be wrong, 3 or 4 may have been drafted. The other ones had to come around the way, back the gate, behind grandmother's house to get to a team. And to me, that is a problem. That is a disparity. When you can have workout days at Appalachian State, but you can't have workout days at the Jackson States, the TSUs, just like it. And if you do, really seriously evaluate that talent. I think there's a perception, but I think there's a culture that we need to address, and the only way to address that is through leadership. People notice it. No one is speaking up on it. It's
and that's the problem I have, Mike, as well. Let me see. That's my concern.
Let me ask this question.
Where are the commissioners and where are the coaches talking about this? And of course, we in the media, we're going to have a voice, but I need to hear the voices of those guys who grind with them all day long for those spring and summers and through the fall.
Straight up honest question, guys. Wilton, I'll start with you.
Okay.
How much does the HBCU space miss Prime's megaphone?
Right now, I would probably say a lot. Just based on the fact that, because kind of going back to the point of what Cal was saying in terms of, players maybe not having, I guess more so players not necessarily having that platform to showcase like that they have this talent, or it makes it seem as though like, okay, without Prom's voice of shining, I guess, or Prom's voice of shining, like, okay, y'all need to come down here, come to these schools, come to Jackson State, come to, Southern, Grambling, Texas Southern, Alcorn. We need more NFL scouts and things of that nature at these schools. Well, if he's not doing that anymore currently right now, obviously because he's in Colorado, it's like, well, if you're some of these NFL teams, whether it's the owners, the scouts from these different teams, like, do we necessarily have to go down there if nobody's pushing for it? Kind of going to the message of what Cal was saying, like, is anybody pushing for it like that? Where other coaches, like, I always think about, like, say, and this is a difference in between the two meal of what I'm about to mention, Deion Sanders and Eddie George. Eddie George is very much different from Deion Sanders. Eddie George is building his program a lot differently than what Deion was doing at Jackson State. But, now I will say this, Eddie George has become more open about pushing it, pushing forward the message of trying to get more NFL scouts and ownership to come look at these HBCU teams. But it's definitely not the same as Deion. So to your point, to answer your question, yes, they miss it, in my opinion.
Mike, Kyle, what are y'all got? What are y'all's thoughts?
I think you do miss a Deion voice in the wake of no one else speaking up.
Correct.
Yeah, Deion was that megaphone that he brought not only light to Jackson State, but he brought light to the players. He brought direct and indirect energy and exposure to Jackson State. So yes, without question, they miss him. There were lots of eyes on the Jackson State game because Deion, but noticing the players, the talent, no matter, looking at the games, there were more eyes on those games. That's a start. But I still think even in the wake of missing Deion, there's a missing element. That's the leadership, the presidents. No, you still need those folks to still speak up. Yes, we miss Deion because he shed that light on it. But, he was the only one that really is shedding a light. Eddie George, love him, bless him, not built that way. Different process, whole different molecule, different than Deion. But he's doing it a different way. You need the leadership to really address this issue, to speak up, to shed light, to put something in place for it.
Let me address it like this. So Coach Chinisberry, during the season, we spoke. He said we had NFL scouts coming in to look at my cornerback. His quarterback, I saw he signed a undrafted free agent rookie contract somewhere with the Eagles, I believe, or somewhere up north. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so Chinisberry is now with South Carolina State. He's a two-time HBCU Division II national champion. Trey Oliver is the 2022 national champion. I haven't heard from these guys. We haven't heard from these guys. And if the NFL scouts can come to my camps, come to my practices, pick my brain, want to see how my guys are doing, I have to also hold them accountable when they don't. Now, Doug Williams told this to me. He said, Kyle, I don't see anybody in the draft war rooms getting on the tables fighting for our guys. The scouts are not fighting for our guys. If the scouts won't fight for your guys and the coaches won't fight for you guys, who will?
I guess the question I would ask Doug, is there a hierarchy of leadership with regards to, the scouts standing on the table? You tend to tamper down your voice But
there's a hierarchy. You got the head of scouting. That could be a general manager or assistant general manager. Like in the New Orleans Saints case, that's Jeff Ireland, who is the assistant general manager under Mickey Loomis. Mm-hmm. And I know that intimately because I cover these guys. Mm-hmm. But in the past, there was a Tank Younger and there was a Lloyd who was fighting with Hank Stram and fighting for their guys and passionate about the guys that they went to cover, right? We forget it was Joe Gibbs who first scouted Doug Williams down in Grambling.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I'm telling you, there's got to be some ownership, and some of the scouts are a little bit younger these days. But if you believe in your talent, you have to be able to fight for your talent. And like these guys may be too passive or too afraid to do so.
Understood, man. That is a fascinating conversation.
Yep.
I mean, we could probably keep going and going on. A lot of discussion in the chat room with regards to, who's actually doing the standing and things of that nature. But great questions and great commentary in regards to that. Kyle, another great article that you put out there in regards to just asking tough questions. And where are we with regards to this? And I'm glad this platform gives you an opportunity to kind of lay out the argument, if you will. So, man, appreciate you always stopping by.
Thank you.
And looking forward to you hosting things here on Thursday, huh?
All right. Wilton and I are going to come in and take over the lab. We're going to freestyle.
Yes, we are.
Kyle and Wilton.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. And look, HBCU sports fans, don't get disenchanted. HBCU players, families, and I don't want you guys to hurt the recruitment and think there's no hope. There is hope. We just got to work together to get this on board. That's my thoughts.
And with that, you do have players that do eventually. You look at Kadero Hodge. You're like, who's Kadero Hodge? He was a leading receiver for the Panthers, and he just came to mind. I mean, in 2018, he was with LA. Then he went to Cleveland 2 years. Then he Detroit. Then I think Atlanta. So we do have folks that can compete. It is demonstrative. So going back to Kyle's words, let's not get too downside. We just have to up that voice, up that recognition for these players,
and hold the National Football League owners who have always been silent on this accountable.
With that,
thank you.
We'll end it on that note, man. Hey, Kyle, man, talk to Zion Wilson, man. Get his body right, man. I don't know what's going on with that.
Well, we'll see. He may have a new friend in the forward position next year, so we'll see.
No doubt, man. Thanks for stopping by. We'll be right back here on this side of the HBCU Sports Lab.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
As technology continues to bring changes to the world of education, it's time we also reimagine teacher professional development. Gone are the days of one-size-fits-all learning that can only be accessed at a specific time and place. The Stride PD Center is an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that allow educators to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. The best professional development plans are those that include a level of flexibility and choice for educators. Whether you're a teacher, school, or district, visit us today to take charge of your learning.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
And welcome back on Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Thank you, Big Mike. Thank you, Wilton, for holding things down while I had some technical difficulties over here. Thank you, Lab Rats, for chiming in. Lively discussion. We're going to keep things rolling. Some news and notes from around HBCU news. And as always, we thank the good people at HBCU Game Day, HBCU Sports, always providing great information in regards to what is going on with regards to HBCU news. But Talladega, they clinched the 2024 baseball title in a dominant fashion. Talladega Tornadoes, they completed their triumphant return to the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference in its final year under that name as they won the GCAC baseball championship decisive 25-2 win over the Wiley Wildcats. We also want to send shout outs to the Alabama State Lady Hornets as they received their NCAA D1 tennis regional destinations. The Alabama State University men's and women's tennis team have earned their spots in the NCAA tournament, and that was announced during the NCAA Division I tennis selection show this past Monday. The Lady Hornets will play this weekend at the Dan McGill Tennis Complex in Athens, Georgia. And the Hornets will, and on the men's side, they're going to travel to Starkville, Mississippi, where they will be over there in the regional in Starkville. So the Alabama State women's tennis will battle number 7 seed and host the University of Georgia on this coming Friday, May 3rd at 1 p.m. UNC Asheville and Florida State will open play in that regional, and the winners of those first round matches will play on Saturday for a spot in the Super Regional. And for a second straight year, the men, the Hornets will battle number 16 Mississippi State in the Starkville Regional. That match is also set to go for Friday. So, news and notes from around the HBCU universe. Go for it, Mike. What you got, man?
CB, you got the track and field championships going to A.W. Mumford in the year of our Lord 2024, May 2nd through May 4th. And guess what? That Commissioner's Cup is heating up. Yes. Can you guess who's in first place right now? Right now.
I can take a small guess, but I'm going to let you tell me who is in first place right now.
Alabama State. But can you guess who's in second?
Who's in second?
Come on, man. Come on. That purple and old gold from the Hill, the original Hill, the Prairie View A&M. Right now, of course, we still have the championships. We still have baseball, but the Commissioner's Cup is heating up with the track outdoor championships coming up. And, of course, you have the baseball conference championships coming up as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that ends. Slots 1, 2, 3, and 4. I mean, it's getting tight. It's Alabama State, Prairie View, Southern, Jackson State, fam. You know, so it could be anybody's championship by the end.
No doubt about it. A lot of stuff going on. We'll take a look at the baseball Black College Nines top 10 poll. We'll take a look at the small college division. We start at number 10, Miles College. Jarvis Christian comes in at 9. Wiley comes in at 8. Florida Memorial 7. Edward Waters 6. Savannah State 5. In at 4 is Bluefield State. Number 3 is West Virginia State. Number 2 is Talladega. And the number 1 team in the small college baseball poll from Black College Nines is Albany State University. So wanted to make sure we made mention of that. To the large school division. Starting in at number 10 is Delaware State. Number 9, Southern University Jaguars. Number 8, Mike's purple and old gold. Back there, Prairie View A&M Panthers, big series this weekend as they come inside of Houston, take on Texas Southern for a weekend series this weekend. Coming in at number 7, Grambling State. Huge weekend. They took 2 of 3 over Texas Southern as Texas Southern went to Grambling this past weekend. Texas Southern checks in at number 6. Jackson State checks in at number 5. Alabama State at number 4. North Carolina A&T playing great baseball over there. They are at number 3. The Bethune-Cookman Wildcats check in at number 2. And our producers, both of them, would love this. The Florida A&M Rattlers, they check in. They are the number 1 team in this week's Black College Nines top 10 poll. Guys, thoughts coming down the stretch with regards to a little baseball?
Wilton, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, Charles, I'm really interested to see what this series is going to be like this weekend with and I think it's FAMU that they got this weekend. And so, considering we had Bethune-Cookman's coach on last Tuesday, I'm excited for this one. Now, every time I think about this series, I just think back to last year, SWAC championship, how it came down the way it came down. But I'm really interested to see will this be the year that Bethune-Cookman can do it.
Yeah, big weekend. Very interesting weekend this past weekend. as Alabama A&M. They were able to take 2 of 3 from Bethune-Cookman.
Yep.
FAMU went into Jackson, was able to take care of Jackson while winning 2 of 3, winning the series. So we keep talking about this parity, but I think that turned some heads in regards to Alabama A&M getting the series win over Bethune-Cookman. Bethune-Cookman checking in as the number 2 team this past week. We'll see how the poll, because we finished voting on today. I think tonight the polling stops, so we'll see what happens in regards to next week's poll. But a lot of great baseball action going on in and around HBCU universe. And, you know, guys.
Yep. You know what? Point of order.
Go for it.
When you say out, it's Albany State. Remember, you got to say it right.
You're correct.
Yeah,
right.
you got to say it right. But as far as going back to that small school, it's them in Talladega. Everybody else is just kind of along for the ride. Man, you look at those 2 teams; they are stacked. Yeah. And as far as FAMU, I am so glad we don't have our producers doing that annoying, crooked, whatever, hissing, whatever. I am so glad we had a show that I don't have to see that crooked wrist, whatever. Stop it. Enough. Find something else.
You know he'll pull the plug on us on a second. We better stop. So.
Before Charles won't be the only one without audio.
I know, exactly. Black College World Series will be next week, May 7th through the 12th. A lot of those teams that you'll see in the Black College Lions top 10 poll will be over there in the Black College World Series. Black College World Series will be taking place in Montgomery, Alabama. Yours truly will be doing a little play-by-play over that way. So be sure to tune in next week. I'll also be doing a little play-by-play this weekend with Texas Southern and Prairie View coming into town. So be sure to stop by the ballpark if you're here in Houston. And Mike, don't forget about this. We got Teacher of the Year. Make sure you point that out, brother.
Yep, I was just about to. I just got a holy tweet about Teacher of the Year. Man, I'm telling you, I'd have half of Panther Nation on me I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up. That there's a young man. Well, first of all, there is a show for those of you, and it's called America's Best Teacher. So there's a young man, Tracy Barlow, who is a class of 16 from Prairie View. He has made it to the top 5 in the competition. So, you know, if you go to, Twitter and just look up America's Top Teacher, you can find it and vote for Mr. Tracy Barlow. He is actually number 1 seated right now, but if you click it, he is an incredible young man. He's like I said, he's class of 16. He specializes in tailored teaching lessons. He thrives in building customized lesson plans. He's a well-liked young man, mannerable. So again, Tracy Barlow from the Prairie View A&M University, right now number 1. But please, if you get a chance, go on americasfaveteacher.org and vote for Mr. Tracy Barlow from Prairie View A&M. Prairie View A&M University.
Yeah, drop that D in there. Huh? No doubt. Well, you know how we kind of close things up, guys. I'm gonna get you guys final thoughts with regards to what's happening on in the sports universe. Wilton, go for it, bro. What are your thoughts, bro?
Charles, I gotta bother you. Lakers are gone. They are gone. Bye. You gotta go ahead and turn them antennas on to say, you know what? I'm embracing this new NBA because it's coming. It's coming, regardless of what you think, what you want to say. It's coming. LeBron James is still great. He has probably another at least 2 years left. At least 2 good quality solid years. But I mean, the new NBA, this new regime, Anthony Edwards, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic. I mean, of course, Ja Morant will be back next year. I mean, it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere.
Please don't forget Jamal Murray.
Oh, no, not at all.
Let's put him in that category. He's deserving.
Yeah.
Mike, what you got?
Well, along those lines, I'm sad, maybe because I'm an old school player, the old regime and even the regime that came after that, it's gone. You're right. Well, there's no other way to say it. It's a whole new game. You got Joker, you got Doncic. I mean, you got new players. I'm a fan of Jalen Bronson now. All of a sudden, you got a new crop of players that you got to embrace, and I can't avoid it, but I hate it because I remember the battles of Kobe and Shaq, and I remember those battles. And I even remember the Golden State Warriors. But now, it is a true changing of the guard. The one thing I will say, and somebody else has put in the chat, is where is a lot of the defense? They played defense back in the day.
You just gave one of the solutions as to why it's not Steph Curry with the Warriors. That's why it's defense around.
Hey,
I was like, where is the defense?
Hey, this dude's jacking up some threes now. I ain't gonna lie. And it's nothing you can do when folks get on, because when they own. It's kind of scary now. I mean, the skill level is above, I think, what I think we've ever seen, especially in regards to just being able to shoot the basketball. But man, it's very interesting. Like you said, it's a new guard, and they are taking their place, if you will, amongst today's NBA. I tell you what, I'm looking forward to these young guns. I mean, this Minnesota-Denver series.
Yeah, now that right there could be almost a championship right there. That Minnesota-Denver. Oh my God! Yeah. I watched those young kids from Minnesota play. Those kids can ball.
And I'm honestly like, wow, the Knicks might get to the NBA championship. I'm really starting to feel them a little bit.
Has Doc Rivers has he lost credibility? They say he's forgotten how to coach.
I don't know if he's forgotten how to coach, but he's forgotten how to get through the players. I don't know what it is, or
it just does not seem like he's getting through to the players.
See, Karen Griffin's like, NBA is now boring. I
won't say it's boring. I just think it's just different. It's different. And I think with the more that we, people continue to embrace this new era, this new genre players, not saying to forget the old ones, because here's the thing, I'm still not going to forget and say that, I would never say LeBron is washed, Kevin Durant is washed, all these other players that I know for sure I've seen kind of grow up over my childhood. They're still there. It's just saying that you're no longer there to where you don't have to watch out for this new regime of talent coming in, because they're building their case faster than what some of these other players once did.
I agree.
Speaking of Kevin Durant, is it time to break up the Suns?
Me personally, I don't. It's hard for me to say. On one hand, I want to say, like, you know what? If you take him away from Phoenix, where is he going to go? And then on the other side, it's like, well, we also know that Bradley Beal was hurt for the first 25, 30 games in his tenure in Phoenix. So we really didn't see this team have the team that they needed. But we can also go back a couple years ago and say the Nets didn't fulfill what they needed to fulfill.
Whole nother conversation, and we'll go out on this. Is 82 games too long? Because I don't want to see the stars broken up at the end. For New Orleans to not have Zion Williams, that's huge. All these ankles turning, calf strains, blah blah. Is 82 games too much?
I don't think it is. I don't
think so either.
I think it just comes down to training, how well you take care of your body. Hell, look at LeBron James, classic example. I mean, granted, he tweaked his ankle a little bit last night, but it's like, and granted, I guess we have to say he's one of one in terms of taking care of his body. But if he can do it, I'm not saying somebody's going to do it exactly like him, but I think it's doable for players to find the best ways and methods to take care of their bodies themselves. Yeah,
and I agree with Brandon King. He just said it's about this hand checking has been removed. I agree with that. Hand checking. Jordan, you look at the greats, they played with hand check. Basketball was a little bit more physical, but that made it a little bit more exciting. But I will say 82 games to me is not too long. You look at the speed, you look at the conditioning of some of the athletes that have played before who have been able to play complete seasons. I don't think it's too long.
Injuries are part of the game, I guess. But
yes, and you mentioned Zion. Zion has been known to get hurt at game 5. So I don't know.
And on that note, before I get my restaurant privileges pulled in New Orleans. Oh man, I appreciate you guys for holding down the fort while I had my technical difficulties. Great job leading the show, walking us through the legacy of what Tamika Reed has been able to do. Glad that you guys were able to come on for another great episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We know the voice of God is listening and watching. Thank you, Dr. Bill, for holding things down. So, as always, you know how we check out of this thing. Course.
Lecture.
Course.
Oh, man. Come on. You got to get this show 88 show and you ain't got it.
We'll see you later, folks.
Wow, man. Come on.